Hello, 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 and welcome back to the Clark and Miller English podcast. And if this is your first time here, welcome. Good to have you here. Everybody is welcome first, second, third, or fifth, or 20th time. Today, what's happening today? Well, today I'm going to talk to an old friend, actually, someone I've known for a long time. I used to work with her, Krisia. Her name is Krisia from Lightning English. She has her own company now. Krisia's thing is quite cool. She's very good at getting you as a learner, as a student, as someone developing your English, someone very good at getting you into this mindset to do really well. But, that sounds really abstract and waffly, of course, but the thing about Krisia, she doesn't just give this sort of random abstract information. She tells you how you can do it, how you can actually make these things actionable, to use a ghastly business English expression there, actionable. But she's great. She takes what you need to, how you need to be thinking and how you need to have your mindset, and shows you how to get there. So today we're mostly going to talk about that. And lots of very, very useful tips that you can apply to your everyday life immediately. You can do them today and start getting into a much more healthy and much more productive mindset for learning English. But that's not all. There's something very special about today's episode, because in this episode you will be able to find out how to join a free webinar with Krisia, which we are going to hold on the 15th of May. That's 2021. If you're listening in the future, after the 15th of May, you've missed it. I'm sorry. Too late. There'll be more, don't worry. But yeah, if you're listening this week that I'm in at the moment, then 15th of May, we're going to be giving a free webinar. That's a free classroom where Krisia will be able to give you even more tips on how to get into an English learning mindset. We'll talk about that. You'll hear about how you can join it later. In this episode, we get the date wrong because we've actually since changed it. So just remember, 15th of May is the date. Ignore anything we say with any other dates on it. So today, very quickly, I'll just let you know what we cover. Today, I'm going to talk to Krisia about the weird places we worked at together and how we met. Why students still can't speak English after studying English for years and years and years. Why your problem, if you have it, could be that you're focusing on your English. Okay, that's very mysterious. Let's find out what happens there. We also talk about taking action to build confidence to improve your English. How not to lose your personality in English. This is an important one. We'll talk about that. I have lots of opinions on this and we'll hear them later. Finally, 5 tips for adding English into your everyday life. Just 5 very, very actionable tips. And I'm going to do that classic 2013 clickbait thing. Number 4 is brutal. Because it really is, number 4 is brutal. What's number 4? Oh my God, you'll have to listen and check it out. Oh dear. So this is what we talk about. And let's just get started. Here's me and Krisia talking about all these things. Okay, cool. I am virtually sitting here with Krisia. Hey, Krisia, how are you doing?
How are you?
Yeah, I'm really, really good. Enjoying my birthday week this week.
Yeah, mine was last week, so.
Ooh, cool. Did you do anything
really.
Cool?
Yeah,
Lockdown,
exactly.
right?
I'm waiting till I can go out for sushi.
Yeah. Ooh, yeah, that's a game changer when that happens. Yeah. But I'm pretty good. And we're going to talk to Krisia today about various things, how we met, starting off with that. And then we're going to look into confidence, how to build your confidence, how to remember words in English, and how to sort of start using English, introducing English into your day every day. So we're going to look at a few things like that: confidence, tips for introducing English into your life. Let's just get started. Thanks for coming,
having
Krisia.
me. I'm really excited about this. So, yeah.
Yes, me too. This is going to be fun. Cool. Let's start by how we met, because we go back quite far,
what is it,
right?
15 years? Could it be that long?
Oh, that's terrifying. But it's almost, it's more like 13.
Years.
Lucky
Yeah, that's
13.
right. Yeah. So we met in Turkey, in Istanbul, at an intense kind of 5-day English course, an immersion course. It was a really unique experience, I think, teaching there, but I think also for the students learning.
Yes, I think so. Yeah, it was really intense, very intense. I think that's the best word, because the students are with the teacher for 9 hours, right? Every day for 5 days.
Really, that's a lot of time together.
It's so intense, yeah. And we had breakfast and lunch with them, and you have to just get really locked into the English zone when you're doing that. It was a very strange place to work, and I think it was probably strange for the students too. But what do you think the pros and the cons were of this intense?
Well, I think that intensity worked on both sides. I think it was good for some things, and it was bad for some things. So I think, especially as a teacher, I think that intensity was really good. I had everyone's focus all day, every day for 5 days. I knew that they were going to be there, that they were going to be engaged. They were there just to improve their English. And I didn't have to kind of fight with cell phones or emails or any other distractions. So as a teacher, and I think for the students, it was also a unique experience in that way, where they could just focus on their English for this 5 days and not have anything else to worry about. And I also liked that, the way it was set up, we were very flexible with what we could teach. There wasn't a curriculum or an exam or anything. It was very flexible. That, you could basically take whatever the people in front of you needed and teach it to them, which was great. Yeah. I mean, it was great in terms of giving them what they needed. But I think there were definitely some limitations.
Yes. I mean, it puts a lot of demand on the teacher as well, because you have to create, 45 hours worth of stuff every week.
Yeah, but I think I learned a lot from that experience of having to, think on my toes. Someone asked a question, I had to be able to answer it. It was better to be able to answer it right away. And so I got this whole kind of encyclopedia of knowledge of how to very quickly teach some of these very commonly asked questions and issues that people have.
Yeah.
I still use some of them today. Some of those same answers I came up with all those years ago are just as relevant today.
Yeah.
That was great.
Yeah. It was kind of good, and it was stressful, and it was good. Yeah. So how did
I enjoy that kind of stress?
Yeah, it's productive stress most of the time. That's true. How did you end up there? How did you end up this kind of very strange experimental school?
Yeah, I was teaching at a quote-unquote normal English course before that, where, you go in, there's a syllabus, there's a curriculum, there's textbooks and a classroom with a whiteboard. And I realized after 2 years of teaching there that I had a lot of students, and it was one specific incident that caused this, but I had a friend visiting from the States, and I invited my class of upper intermediate students that I had from beginner. So I'd had them for a while. They had progressed through the levels. They were doing well. And I invited them to go to the cafeteria at the break and talk to my friend, and none of them would. They were all afraid to speak to her. And I'm like, okay, they've been doing English for years now. They've spent every weekend here for the last 2 years, and they don't want to speak English to someone. There's a problem here. But then I realized that it wasn't just my students. My roommate was also a teacher there, and her students nobody wanted to talk to this native English speaker who was sitting in the canteen looking for Turkish people to speak to.
Too afraid.
Nobody wanted to talk to her. Everyone was afraid. And I thought, well, this isn't me. This is a problem with what we're doing here.
I think this is something that's going to be quite familiar to a lot of people listening, because it's, we hear this story a lot, don't we? You spend 9 hours a week taking evening classes or like whatever in the morning, whatever, going to lessons, learning about the grammar, doing reading exercise, listening exercise, go through all the levels, all the way up to upper intermediate, and still nothing really solid. I mean, yeah, maybe you understand how some grammar things actually work, but can you use them? And yeah, I think it's really, really, really common problem. So yeah, so what did you do about it?
I started looking around. I was like, well, there must be some other way to teach English. There must be some other way where when people learn, they actually use it. Mm-hmm. And so that's how I discovered this course that we both ended up at.
So you were looking for something different.
I was looking for something different. Mm-hmm. I realized that it wasn't, we had all had the same training, we were all doing the same thing, and we were all getting the same results. So I was looking for something that was not just a little bit different, but drastically different. And that's how I came across this kind of boutique immersion learning environment. And I went for a visit, and I visited on the first day of this beginner group where the 5 people there knew absolutely nothing. And I sat there with them for breakfast with their teacher. Mm-hmm. And then I came back on the Friday afternoon after they had done this 5 days. And they had questions for me that they had thought about on the first day. And I came and joined them for breakfast. And they were like, oh my gosh, where are you from? What do you do? What are you doing here in Turkey? They were asking me all of these questions. And these were beginners.
So we're looking at, after 5 days, sort of, let's say, just activated their English from nothing to actually being able to hold a basic but a solid conversation. Yeah, and I think what really impressed me was that they weren't focusing on their English. They were focusing on getting answers to their questions. And that, to me, was the key. That was the breakthrough that, that they needed to make as students. And that, for me as a teacher, that's the breakthrough. That's what I want my students to do. I don't want them, every sentence they say in English, they're thinking about, okay, is this the right grammar? Did I use the right, word order or the right tense? That's irrelevant. I want them to think, am I getting the information out there that I want out in the world? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And this was happening. And so I was like, this is where I want to be. Cool. I want to interrupt you very quickly because there's a really good point there, like focusing on getting answers, not focusing on your question. Because it's quite common advice to tell students you've got to focus on the communication, don't worry about the grammar. I mean, this is becoming very common now, thank God, because it wasn't in the past. No, it wasn't. But yeah, that's still quite an abstract thing, isn't it? Focus on communication, not your language. I mean, what does that actually mean in the real world? But I think actually, I'm going to give you some tips later on. Give your listeners some tips on how to really incorporate English into their daily life. And this is one of the things that's really important, where your focus is when you're speaking. And that's it, Instead of abstractifying a strategy for students, no one's got time to break that down. Yeah, focus on getting answers, don't focus on your question. That's really simple. Exactly. Yeah. And that means communication. Yeah, literally. Yeah, totally. Cool, great. Okay, so yes, so that's how you ended up at the intensive school. Yeah, but I also wanted to say something that happened very quickly that I noticed when I was there was that the students who came back, so they would do 5 days and then maybe come back 2 months later. And they were coming back and they were at the same level when they came back as they were the first time they came. They they had improved over the 5 days, but then somehow in the time in between finishing the course and then coming back maybe a month or 2 later, they had slipped back to the same kind of base level where they started. And that was a real problem for me as a teacher, because now I couldn't just teach them the same thing again the same way. And secondly, because then they've basically wasted their time and I've wasted mine. So I really started investigating ways to have them maintain their improvement over the long term. Okay, because this is a big one, isn't it? This is another common problem for a lot of English learners, language learners, that
Yeah.
you make some improvement and then you relax and then you kind of forget about it and it all goes, and it's very frustrating.
Yeah, and I think people feel, I know this has happened to me also as I learn other languages. You get to this kind of level and it's like your baseline level. And it may go up for a little while if have a few days of intensive use, but then it goes back to that baseline level. And I know here in Denmark, I have a lot of students who that baseline level is wherever their English was when they left high school.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And they've had to do a little bit in the business world, but their English is still at whatever that high school level English was. And there's this feeling of I'm stuck in this place and I'm not getting any better. And
this is very common, isn't it?
Getting past that is really my mission, to get my students past that. I don't want them I want a new baseline that is higher. That is better than where they were before.
Yeah. So things don't get forgotten. Things stay active.
Exactly.
I've got a feeling that this is going to be part of the tips you're going to give at the end of this podcast. So I won't ask you what you asked them. Listeners, you're just going to have to keep listening to the end now. Oh no. So yeah, we're looking forward to those tips on how to. I got that right? Like this integration.
Yeah, I'm going to include some of it there.
Okay, cool. We'll talk about that then. So, I wanted to ask you, following this theme of how we met and where we met, like, what have you been up to since? So we've gone our separate paths. So
yeah, we have. And so since Turkey, I got married to a Danish man and moved to Denmark.
Cool.
And
that's a good sentence. Just sounds good.
Does it? Okay.
I don't know why.
So now I'm in Denmark, and I've been here for the last almost 11 years. I've been here for the last 11 years, and teaching English off and on. I mean, I've been teaching on the side for a lot of the time, and then just in the last year and a half, I've decided to really just step out and start my own business and do it full time.
Great. And I think this is something that our listeners can be interested in, because you have your own sort of online, I don't want to call it a teaching company, because it's like coaching, isn't it?
Yeah, I really like to refer to it as coaching, because I think what I do in terms of teaching, I mean, teaching is a small part. People want to improve their English, but they want that for a reason. Nobody just wants to have better English. They want to be able to do something. And so I help them to start with the English that they have and do that thing they want to do, and then get better and better at doing it. So whether it is, speak up in meetings or write emails to clients or whatever it is, but I help them to do what they want to do in English better.
Cool. So you sort of focus on a goal, a communicative goal, shall we say?
Yeah, that's part of it, but then there's a lot of mindset. So
that's why I wanted to touch on.
One of the things that I've realized, over the years teaching is that, I could teach and people can learn the grammar and learn the vocabulary, but they're still going to do the same things they were doing before if they don't have the confidence. If they don't have the confidence to say, okay, I'm actually going to write this email and click send, or I'm actually going to put up my hand at this meeting and say something. And that confidence doesn't necessarily come from having better English. People always think, if I improve my English, then I'll be able to speak up in the meeting. It's completely wrong. It's wrong.
Yeah,
and I hate to, it's a hard lesson to learn, especially if that lesson takes, hours and hours of training and thousands of kroner or euros or whatever you're spending. To find out that, I've improved my English, but I still am just as afraid to put my hand up in the meeting as I was 2 months ago, 6 months ago. Yeah,
that's a really good point. Differentiating your English level and your English skills with your level of confidence and self-esteem when it comes to speaking English. Okay, so how do you... Yeah. Sorry for interrupting. I just wanted to ask, how do you approach that?
So one of the things that I do is really, actually have conversations about this, about what does it look like to do that thing that you want to do? Why aren't you doing it now? What is holding you back? We look at different ways of incorporating, English into their life so that it actually becomes easier. Taking all the little steps that it takes to get to that big step. Because every journey is just little steps,
Yeah.
So it's figuring out what those little steps are with the client and taking them together.
Cool. So this is sort of little practical steps that work for something quite abstract, like a sense of confidence.
Yeah.
You just build through those steps.
Build week by week, action by action. I am all about taking action. I think it's great to learn stuff, but there's no point in learning something if you're not going to do anything with that knowledge. So when I work with people, whether it's one-on-one or in groups, I also do online courses. I do workshops online. Whatever it is, it's all about taking action. And the key is, what are you going to do?
Right. And that's it. And you take people who... So in a way, do you find yourself building your students or your clients' confidence more than teaching them English? Is it more
100%. Yeah. We spend so much more time on that than we do on the English, because what they actually find is that, their English is probably okay where they are to do that thing. But if you could just do that thing, then you can look at, okay, now I'm doing that thing that I wanted to be able to do. How's my English for that? So you have to build the confidence first. One of my coaching students refers to me as his personal trainer. I'm his personal trainer for English. So he knows that he has to work out, and he knows that he should be working out. But I'm the one there saying, okay, do it now, go. Oh, but I'm tired. Nope, do it. So I'm there to kind of really push people past where they feel their limits are, and to find new limits and to find new challenges. That's very cool. And you've managed to describe what you do without mentioning your your company name. That's funny. Yeah. So my company is called Lightning English, and you can find it at lightningenglish.com. Cool. I have online courses, I have one-to-one coaching, I have group coaching, but I also do free lessons every week. And when I say lessons, I'm sure people can figure out now that it's not like grammar lessons or vocabulary lessons. It's really lessons on how to use your English, how to become better at using English in your daily life. Great. And that's all accessible from your website, right? Everything's there. Yeah, you can get everything from the website. Cool. Yeah, for sure. And the lessons that I do are on my YouTube channel and in my Facebook, on my Facebook page every Wednesday. So, yeah. Cool. But they're all available on my website as well. Free lessons. No one can turn that down. Yeah, right? Yeah, every week. Fantastic. And I'm just thinking about the confidence thing. I was thinking of like a sort of metaphor, because I get this with like it's like my third language now, I guess, with Bulgarian. Turkish is actually okay. I'm much more confident with my Turkish now. Some say arrogant, but I beg to differ. But fine line. Yeah, it's a fine line. It's perspective. This whole thing it's about performance, isn't it? Like, really, I think because I've started a new music project and it's quite new, and I'm playing like guitar and singing like at home, like every day, working on these songs. And then I take it to like my band. And, even though I can like completely nail it at home, when I'm in front of just my, like, two of my best friends, like it's 100% like a total difference. It's a completely just being different in front of people. And but there's also a balance. You will also wouldn't go in front of them and say, "Hey, look what I check this out," and you wouldn't go and just figure it out for the first time right in front of them. Right. So there is this balance between practice and performance, and figuring out, well, okay, I do need to practice on my own. I do need to kind of get myself to the point where I can do this. But at some point, I have to say, okay, that's enough. Let me go and show it to someone. And expect that when I go and show it to someone, or when I go and have a conversation with someone, or write that email to someone, it's not going to be perfect. And taking away that expectation of perfection, I think, is a really, really important step. Even if
Mm-hmm. Sorry, go on.
Ahead.
I was going to say, even if it's kind of perfect when you do it by yourself, it's going to not be when you do it out there.
Yeah,
right?
because it's a different experience.
Yeah.
It's a different experience of the thing. I use an example often in my workshops and in my teaching of tennis players. You know, they'll practice a serve and it's perfect. They can serve perfectly, like every time in practice. And then they go and they're in a big tournament. And guess what? It goes into the net. It doesn't mean that they can't serve perfectly. It means they have to say, okay, that one's gone. Let me try another one. Yeah, and that's the same when you're speaking. Maybe you know how to say a sentence perfectly when you're on your own, but you're under the stress of a performance situation. It's going to come out wrong sometimes, and you have to say, you know what? Let's try again. Second service.
Well, you only get 2 chances in tennis, right?
Yeah, in tennis you only get 2 chances.
Language, you get many more.
You get as many as you need. So
as many
just
as
giving yourself that kind of leeway to make mistakes and not say, "Oh, I made a mistake. I'm never going to say anything ever again."
Right. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great. So if you could sort of encapsulate, I know it's a big issue, but if you can encapsulate some simple advice for dealing with confidence issues and performance issues, like everything we've been talking about, what would you say if you had 1 minute to explain to a student?
Oh, 1 minute to explain. Well, I think they'll be covered in the 5 tips that I'm giving. So maybe it's a better summary.
Okay.
Is to give the tips.
All right, let's do that then. Okay, so the question is, have you got any tips for adding English into your day, for incorporating English into your everyday life?
Yes, I have 5 tips for incorporating English into your everyday life, and doing that will build your confidence and will build your kind of feeling of English as something as a tool that I can use to do all of these different things that I want to do. So I'm going to start with tip number 1, and it is just that. Number 1 is, sorry.
Well,
I want to let you know that these tips, you can find them in a PDF at lightningenglish.com/tips. And you're going to have these 5 tips as a PDF and a little bit of work that you can do to help in each of them.
Well, that's great. So if anyone listening misses 1 or 2 of the tips, you can get them online, lightningenglish.com/tips.
Tips. Yep, that's it.
Okay, great. Cool. I'll say that one more time at the end of the episode.
Great.
Cool.
Okay.
But yeah, go. Let's hear them. 5, was it?
So, yes, it's 5. So tip number 1 is use English as a tool and don't make it a goal. So your goal, if you say my goal is to be an advanced level English speaker, that's not going to work. Okay, because that's not a goal. That's your aspiration in your English, but what do you want to do with it? I want you to, if you start thinking, what do I want to be able to do with my English? Then you're on the right track. If you want to, say you want to travel and speak English. So if you say, I want to be able to go to a restaurant and order food and, talk to people I meet in English, then that's your goal. English is just the tool. And then it also takes away, again, that expectation of perfection. Because if you can order and you get the food you wanted, then you've reached your goal. It's not about having perfect English. It's about doing the thing you want to do, whether it is, ordering food or making a presentation. If you've made that presentation and the people understand it, if you made mistakes, it's not a problem because they've gotten what they needed to get from that presentation.
Yeah.
Okay, so thinking of English as a tool and not a goal is the first tip for improving your confidence and improving your English.
That's good. I'm going to make a comment on that later, but I want to see what's next.
Okay. The second is, and it's kind of linked, and it is to focus on the message. You want to focus on the message and not on the language. If you have something to say, then, and something important to contribute to a conversation, then if you truly feel that you are contributing something, then the language that you use is not going to be as important as the message that you're conveying.
Yeah.
The message that you're trying to get across to that other person. If you think of, again, I deal with a lot of business English users, so the work environment is really important. And if they are in a meeting and they're talking about something that's actually really important and they have some information that would be useful to the people in the meeting, if people are afraid to speak, it's usually because they're thinking about, from their point of view, if my English isn't good enough, then I'm going to be embarrassed because of how people hear what I say. And so they're focused on their English. But if you think, okay, what I have to say is actually going to contribute something to this meeting. These people need the information that I have. And so I'm going to focus on getting that information to those people. And as soon as you shift that focus, then you can get over some of that fear that comes from, oh my God, they're going to think I'm stupid, or they're going to think my English is bad. Instead, it becomes, they're going to be grateful for this piece of information that I'm contributing to the conversation.
Yeah. Yeah. This is cool. Yeah. Quick comment on this. Yeah, this reminds me of the focusing on getting answers piece of advice you gave earlier on. It's the same. Yeah. It's the same.
It is literally the same piece of advice. And so it works for your speaking, your reading, your listening, and your writing. Whether it's someone else speaking and you trying to understand them, because there will be other people speaking and maybe you have trouble understanding their English. But if you're focused on the message, then then it's not so embarrassing to say, sorry, I didn't catch that, and I really want to know what you're saying, so can you repeat it? It's very different from, oh, my English is bad, so I need you to repeat it.
Yeah.
It's a completely different mindset.
Yeah, I was going to use that word, mindset. Ties in completely to the mindset. I think sometimes it helps. It depends what your first language is, because for obvious reasons, it's different from country to country and place to place. But it's very easy for us as sort of first language English speakers to remember times when we communicated, had a great sort of chat or a relation, knowing someone well who didn't have like what we would call like correct grammar or correct English, but they communicated really, really well. I had a friend from Japan when I was in my early 20s, and like if you just saw his what he said written down, you'd be like, oh, this is a complete hot mess. But he actually communicated really well, and he was really easy and enjoyable to spend time with. And if you can think of someone where you've had that as in your first language, so I guess if you're Danish, you may not have encountered too many people trying to speak Danish from other countries.
Because they all, here in Denmark, everyone just switches to English. If they hear you speaking bad Danish, they're like, oh, we in English.
It's like the Netherlands.
It's been a problem. It's been a problem for me learning this.
Not enough opportunities to practice. Yeah. But if you're from somewhere like Spain or Portugal, you're probably used to hearing other people like speaking your language. And it's, remember the ones who communicated well, but even if they weren't using good grammar, because that's the most important thing, isn't it?
And it usually has to do with the passion, how passionate they are about what they're talking about, how interesting they are as a person. So another thing that I've noticed over the years is that often people lose their personality when they switch to English. You learn English through these kind of techniques that have you focusing on grammar and vocabulary and all of these very kind of set, rigid formulae for making up, for creating a sentence or whatever. So you lose your personality. Those little things that make you are gone. In kind of search for perfect English. And I think it's really important to include those things in your English. And that comes from focusing on the message.
Yes. Things like being able to like make jokes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even if you don't have the grammar to support it, it still comes across, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a really good point.
I have a student, a coaching student, who uses smileys all the time when she writes emails, in Danish. But then when she writes English, there's no smileys. And I said to her, where are all the smileys? She's like, oh, but it doesn't feel right because it's in English. I said, well, then you need to write in English in a way that feels right to put a smiley in. Because then it's you. And as soon as she started doing that, she started thinking of how she would have to say this in English to put that little smiley in. And all of a sudden, her personality started coming through.
Cool. That's a good
English.
example.
So,
I like that. Yeah. I use a lot of smileys
so,
too.
yeah.
I know how she feels. But yeah, no, I should try that in Bulgarian. Excellent.
Yeah, for
good
sure.
Advice.
Yeah. So
Okay.
that was the second
That was the
tip,
second
to
one.
focus on the message.
Okay.
Yeah.
Number 3.
Number 3, include English in your daily life. So look at the things that you do now and see if you can do some of them in English. And I don't mean just like, oh, watch TV in English. That's what everyone says. I watch TV in English. That's fine. But I mean, like, for example, on social media. A lot of people are on social media. Maybe you're in Facebook groups. For example, I'm in some parenting groups on Facebook because I have 2 kids. And so now what I've done is, because I'm trying to improve my Danish, I've found some parenting groups in Danish. And again, it goes back to number 2 and number 1, where I'm using the language as a tool. I'm not going into that group to practice my Danish. I'm going in there to figure out what to do about my kid, and then it becomes about the message, know?
Yeah. That's a
and
really...
then when somebody,
Sorry, go on.
When somebody asks for some advice or a suggestion, maybe somebody with kids younger than mine or a problem that I've had to deal with my kids, then I don't care if my Danish isn't perfect. That person really wants to know how to get their baby to sleep, and I have something that can help them. So I can focus on the message, and they are not going to care if I use the right, gender for the noun, So being in a situation where you're actually talking about something that's important to you, that matters to you, really, really helps.
And being valued in your second language or in the language you're learning. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah,
so
really cool.
Also, for example, for work-related things, I'm doing a lot of online marketing and figuring out how to set up an email list and stuff like that. Well, I've joined some email lists in Danish about people who deal with online marketing in Danish. So now I'm getting the language for it while I'm learning how to do it. So it's not just about how do I do this. It's about how do I do this in Danish. And then when I talk to other people about it in Danish, I have all the words I need.
Yeah, because all the vocabulary and the key phrases and all that stuff.
There.
It's all there.
It's all right there.
That's great.
Yeah. Doing Google searches in the language that you're trying to get. Doing looking for YouTube videos on different things. One of the things is when I was in Spain, I lived in Spain for a year, and I didn't speak any Spanish when I went there, and I wanted to learn Spanish. I didn't want to spend money on Spanish lessons. I think, and maybe this is a little counterintuitive, but I decided to go and I was living in the Basque country in Bilbao, and I did a Basque cooking class, but it was in Spanish. Yeah, about how to cook Basque food. And so I went not knowing any Spanish, and we're cooking together, and we went shopping together. I learned the names of all the things we needed. I learned how to read the recipe in Spanish, figure things out, watching, learning, talking, laughing with the other people there. And of course, by the end of this 3-month cooking class, I could have conversations in Spanish.
Yes, especially about cooking.
But also about, we're sitting and eating. People are talking about their family. They're talking about what they're doing this weekend. I mean, there were so many different conversations. And that was my Spanish class. It was actually a cooking class.
Cool example. I think...
Offered free by the community I was in. It was a free class.
Oh, great. Much more productive than lessons, I'm sure.
Yeah.
This reminds me of something, and I want to mention it, and I hope I'm not treading on your toes and interfering with point 4 or 5. We'll see.
We'll see.
But this whole idea of genre, language, it kind of revolves around what the topic is you're talking about, right? So that's very, very heavily determined by what you're talking about. So if you're talking about raising kids, or if you're talking about cooking Basque food, or if you're talking about content marketing, the language is going to be completely different from topic to topic. So that's maybe another interesting strategy. I've just thought about it, so obviously this needs to percolate a little bit. But do something in one topic, one genre, like cooking, do something in another genre, and jump from genre to genre, and you'll build up a very interesting web of vocabulary and phrases and stuff.
Absolutely. And actually, that's going to come up a lot in my master class, The Secret to Improving Your English Vocabulary Without Studying.
Which we will talk about very soon.
Yeah. Yeah. But this idea of there are separate kind of vocabulary sets, but there's also a lot of overlap. So bear that in mind as well, as, you know, the focusing on the things you want to be better at is really important.
Yeah, but we will be talking about that after points 4 and 5.
Okay.
Yeah.
So 4.
Okay.
And this is the one that's going to really help you to kind of really increase your confidence. And that is to challenge yourself to do more in English. Do the hard things. Those things that you think, oh, when my English is better, I'm gonna, fill in the blank. Well, that thing that you're gonna do it. Do it now when your English is where it is. Because doing that thing makes your English better. It pushes you to figure out what you need to be able to do. Yeah. So I think that one. I like this piece of advice, but this is probably the most difficult one to swallow so far because it is scary.
It's scary as hell. Yeah. And it's like you have to set yourself up for failure when you do this, right? Because I guess the goal isn't to walk away having done it well. The goal is to walk away having done it terribly so you know what you need, right?
Right. Yeah. And so it's also about finding mini versions of that thing. So if you want to say, I want to be able to give a TED Talk in English, then your challenge isn't to go out and give a TED Talk in English. You know, like that's not it. But maybe what you can do is go live on your Facebook page and talk about that topic in English. You know, a mini version. Maybe it is to find a few people and just have an informal conversation about that thing. Yeah. You need to take little steps towards that thing that you want to be able to do.
Or set up a small mini Toastmasters group.
Yeah.
Not the formal one, but
and you want to also, I mean, obviously it depends on where you're starting from. So if you're starting from a place where you're already used to giving or to making small presentations in English, then you need to make it bigger. But if you're in a place where, oh my gosh, I'm afraid to speak English in public at all to even 3 people, then that's where you need to start. So it's looking at where you are and taking a little step forward from there. Yeah.
That's the scary one. Number 4.
That's the scary thing. And that's the one where having a personal trainer really, really helps.
Right.
Because I spend a lot of time with my clients every week, you know, when they do my 10-week coaching program. I spend time with them every week, both figuring out what the challenge is going to be and figuring out how to kind of get up the courage to do it. So, it really helps having someone in your corner who you know that you're going to have to report back to, who you can call afterwards and say, oh my God, I did it and I'm still sweating, but I did it, you know. So having someone, having a partner helps.
Yeah. For some reason, because this one's so tough, I'm imagining that, you know, that guy in the corner of the boxing ring who keeps shouting at the boxer. It's just like, knock him out.
Yeah, and I think that's really important, having someone who can be there for you when you're doing those hard things. Okay. Whether it's someone like me, your coach, or whether it's another friend who's also learning English, who, you know, you can kind of challenge each other. Whatever it is, it really, really helps not to feel alone.
That's a good one as well. If you have a competitive personality, like I do, finding someone and trying to do it better than them, and you'll end up getting good. That's how I got good at playing the guitar. And that's
as long as the other person's also competitive. If the other person is like getting their confidence completely ruined every time,
don't do that. That's not a rewarding success.
I have a Facebook group, the Lightning Practice group, where I try to encourage the people who are there to kind of team up and find someone who you can work with to challenge each other and to make sure that you're staying on track and doing those things that you promised you're going to do.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, so there are some good strategies to overcome the terrifying nature of
number
Yeah, that
4.
crippling fear.
Advice
No,
for,
definitely.
yeah.
It is
Yeah.
definitely doable. It's not just, okay, do the hard thing, go. No, it's not.
You need to set it up. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
totally. Cool, great.
And the last tip is very kind of woo-woo. It's very out there. My tip is to be the person that you want to become.
Ooh, abstract.
So it is quite abstract, but I'm going to bring it down to reality.
Cool.
And so I want to, for example, for me, I want to be a person who, when the conversation needs to be in Danish to make the other person more comfortable, then I will happily have the conversation in Danish. I don't want to have to wait until my Danish is there. I want to be that person now. Okay, so it means going into conversations in Danish without starting with, oh, is it okay if if we do this in English, or, not making excuses for anything, just going in 100% and doing it. Having that kind of feeling inside that I am a person who speaks this language and showing up as that person. So one of the things I always tell people, do not make excuses for your English. Do not apologize for your English. If you are an English speaker, then you don't start with, oh, I'm sorry about my English. You start with, hello, my name is, and you have the conversation. Be that person. Be an English speaker if that's the person you want to become.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't be an English learner if what you want to be is an English speaker.
Yeah. And
you see what I'm saying?
Yes. And you want to talk about the things that you want to talk about. You don't want to talk about your own English. That's a boring topic for everyone.
Yeah. As soon as you go in apologizing for your English, people start looking for your mistake. Yeah. As soon as you go in feeling like you are less than what you want to be in this conversation, or when you're writing this thing, then you lose all of the steps that you took in, tips 1 to 4. You lose that if you show up as someone who's not so good at English or who's learning and who's going to make lots of mistakes. No, come in as an English speaker and speak English.
Brilliant. Yeah.
It's okay to make those mistakes, but that's not who you are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a really good tip. Just again, very, very simple. Make sure your starting position is one when you're totally over that whole self-deprecation stuff with your English. Start from the point after that. Yeah. And you're in a much better position to just keep going and enjoying the conversation, probably.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I always tell my students that language is like a bridge. If you're on an island and I'm on an island, and we want to have a conversation, we want to meet, so we have this bridge in between us. The thing is, a lot of people say, oh, well, I'm okay speaking to other non-native English speakers, but when I speak to a native speaker, I'm really nervous and I'm really afraid of making mistakes.
Yeah, very common.
But if you think about that, when you're talking with a non-native speaker, then you're basically meeting in the middle of this bridge. You're both leaving your own island, your own language island, and meeting in the middle on this bridge and having a conversation. So it seems like it's easier.
That is such a good metaphor. That's great.
Yeah, when you speak to a native speaker, that person is sitting on their island and you are walking all the way across the bridge to their side. So there is even less reason for you to apologize. There's absolutely no reason to apologize for your English. If you have walked the whole way across, you're on their island, speaking their language, then if you make a mistake or if they have a problem with the way you speak, then you say, okay, let's go over to my island and speak my language then. It changes I think coming at it from that position of power, you have power when you are speaking your second language to someone who is a native speaker. Yeah. That power comes from the fact that they can't do this in your language. You are coming all the way across to them. And if it's a problem for them, then remind them, then say, okay, if you're having a problem with my English, how about we do this in insert
Catalan.
your language.
Yeah.
Yeah, Catalan or Arabic or
Mhm.
whatever language you're starting from.
Mhm.
And it gives you back that power. It gives you back that power. And now instead of looking for your mistakes, they're thinking, oh my gosh, thank goodness this person speaks my language.
Yes.
So use that.
That bridge analogy is fantastic. I've been trying to express that a lot over the years. I did my thesis on English as a lingua franca, and this deals with all of this. And that bridge, perfect analogy. Also, I like the fact that it's quite a Danish analogy because you have two islands linked by a bridge. And where else?
Very Danish.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Most people would use a boat.
Yeah. Or
got a bridge.
Yeah. Or just most places don't need a bridge for two islands. It's usually mainland to island or something. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
sorry. I've been here for too long.
No, I like it. I should call it the Danish analogy.
The Danish analogy.
It's fantastic. Yeah. Really good. That's so valuable. Fantastic. Yeah, I'm just going to recap really quickly because I'm the sort of guy who's obsessed with recapping.
Yeah, I think recapping is good.
Yeah, it's good. We're at the end. Okay, so if you've been falling asleep, wake up. English. Think about your English as a tool, not a goal. The goal is not to speak English well. The goal is to do whatever it is you're doing at the time. Tip 1.
Yes.
Yeah.
Nice.
Tip 2. Focus on the message, not the language. Are you trying to get information off somebody? Then focus on that information. Are you providing information to someone? Focus on making sure they've got that information and ignore the language. Just use it. This is good. I like 1 and 2 are quite similar, but they are distinct. Mm-hmm. Number
2 is kind of a way to make 1 happen.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Yes, they run on from each other, don't they? Great. Tip number 3. Include English in your daily life. Okay, that's something that everyone says. But, join a Facebook group on parenting. Watch a masterclass or join a cooking class. I like that one. I was thinking book clubs are a classic as well. Join a book club, a Toastmasters class. If you want to expand your vocabulary and just sort of get better at English generally, go from genre to genre if you've got time. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that so much. Number 4, the scary one, challenge yourself to do more. So, when you feel you're not ready for something, that's when you need to do it.
Yes. You're never going to feel ready.
Oh, that's the scariest one. By far. You're never going to feel ready. I like that. That's true. Just do it. And your goal is to fail with that one, right? Yeah. So you learn what you need, and then next time you can succeed.
No, because when you say fail, it implies that the goal was actually to do it perfectly. And your goal is to learn that you don't have to do it perfectly to do it.
That's much better. Thanks. Yeah. And also fail is not a very positive word because, your goal is to learn from the experience.
You can't fail if you did it. So
totally true. Nice. And number 5, be the person you want to become. So simply make sure you're starting off by ignoring the fact that you may have limits in your English and just getting on with it and stop obsessing over, oh my God, my English isn't very good. Because it makes people uncomfortable too, as well. So
absolutely. Yeah. And then they feel like they have to say, no, your English is fine. Or it's like,
and then
skip that.
Just
skip
thinking
that part
about it all the time. Yeah, skip it. That's it. Go to scene 2. Great. And one thing I just sort of thinking about looking at all the advice, there's a lot of sort of shifts in mindset seems to be quite a strong theme in your advice, which is good because there's not enough of that. And it's quite abstract, but I like the fact that you can make it concrete. And there are ways to make these very abstract pieces of advice real and immediate.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
And like I said, in my weekly lessons, I give tips on literal things you can do every day, real things that you can do to make these things happen.
Mm-hmm.
So,
that's fantastic. And that does bring us on to the last thing we want to talk about, because we've got an exciting piece of news. For people who are signed up to the Clark & Miller mailing list, which is hopefully most of the people listening, you will be getting an invite. God, when did we do it? I didn't check the date. You made the date ages ago. It's soon, isn't it? It's in a couple of weeks, I think.
Yeah, May 8th, did we say?
Oh, it's in May. Excellent. Yeah, before May the 8th, you will be getting an email inviting you to join a masterclass that Krisia is going to be leading, the name of which is... Oh, some posh English there, the name of which. Shall I say it, or do you want to say it?
I can say it.
Okay.
The secret to improving your English vocabulary without studying.
There you go. The secret to improving your English vocabulary without studying. I like titles that mean that you don't have to explain what it is anymore. Because
that's what I like too.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what
it is.
That's what it is. Yeah, it does what it says on the tin. So, yes, if you're not signed up to our mailing list and you are interested in attending Krisia's masterclass, where she will be providing more tips for improving your English, adding English into your day, changing your mindset, building up courage and confidence. I'm getting this right? All of this stuff is there?
Yeah, pretty much.
Cool.
Yeah.
And it's all free.
But it's a lot of very actionable things that you can do to make your vocabulary better.
So it's bringing things more on the concrete side from the abstract. So if you're interested in that, it's completely free, 100%. All you need to do is sign up to our mailing list. It wouldn't surprise you to know that you have to go to clarkandmiller.com and you'll find a place to sign up. It's on the homepage. If you're reading our blogs, we have one of those slightly annoying pop-ups where you can get one of them too. So yeah, sign up to the mailing list if you're interested in Krisia's masterclass in May. And I think that covers everything we've talked about. Oh, also, if you're interested in the 5 tips that Krisia gave and you want them on virtual paper, then you can go to, let me see if I can remember this. I didn't write it down, but let's test my memory. lightningenglish.com/tips.
That's it. Ooh. TIPS.
TIPS. Like the tea company. Not endorsed by PG Tips. Okay. So it'll be on a Saturday afternoon or morning in Europe. And other times elsewhere. Great. Yeah. Do you have anything you'd like to add, Krisia? Any points? Any comments?
No, but I have really enjoyed doing this with you. And I'm looking forward to the masterclass. And I'm looking forward to meeting some of your listeners as well.
Yes, they're a good bunch. The ones we've met, great. Lovely people. But it's been fantastic, Krisia. Thanks so much. I've taken a lot out of this. Some amazing metaphors, and you have a knack of making like complicated things into 2 words and summing them up, encapsulating them really well. So I'm going to take some of those and use them for my own learning and also give them as advice to other people. So
great.
Thanks so much thanks so much for joining us, and see you at the masterclass.
Yeah, see you there.
Cool.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, that was it. I'm going to just leave you with a few links and a few pieces of information. Remember, to join the webinar, just head over to clarkandmiller.com. More or less everywhere on the site, you'll find somewhere to sign up to our mailing list. So do that, and then you'll be getting the notifications for the webinar and the invitation to join free. Remember that the webinar is on the 15th, not the 8th, as we were saying in the podcast, because we've changed the date since we recorded the podcast. And if you want Krisia's tips in PDF form, you can get them for free, the ones we talked about today. That's lightningenglish.com/tips. Lightning, like thunder and lightning, lightningenglish.com/tips. That's it. That was a really enjoyable conversation. It's always nice to talk to Krisia. She's always full of really inspiring ideas and thoughts. And I hope to see you at the webinar. Until then, ciao.